What's going on, guys? I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. Today, I'm going to do something a little bit different, something I've never actually done before, but I'm going to try to engage in public Discord and ask and answer some questions while I show you guys one of my gameplays that I have going on. Now, the topic of discussion I'd like to talk about today is one that I've been completely enamored with, that I've been following really closely. Maybe alongside a lot of you as well, because you have been interested in what's going to happen with the Microsoft Activision merger, as well as the FTC and versus Microsoft court battle. But one of the most interesting things that I've asked is, why is the FTC fighting so hard or so interested in seeking to block this merger rather than just look through it, approve it, disapprove it, and move on? But now they're really just trying to block this merger, and they're willing to take Microsoft to court. And especially because all of the content that I've seen around this issue has really shown the FTC in a light that makes them seem quite unprepared, and their arguments very weak for what's going on in terms of this merger. Now, I can't really do a full detailed backstory on what's going on in this case, but I can catch you guys up to speed on the major issue. Major issue is that Microsoft wants to buy Activision Blizzard. Activision Blizzard is a publishing company that owns popular gaming titles like Call of Duty, Overwatch, Diablo, World of Warcraft, and a bunch of mobile games such as Candy Crush. Now, Microsoft is seeking to spend $69 billion to purchase Activision Blizzard so that they can incorporate them into their gaming division as part of Microsoft Gaming. Now, with that being said, the FTC has jumped in and said, no, we are not going to allow you to just drop $69 billion and buy whatever you want. We're going to regulate this and make sure that there is no monopoly or monopolizing activity going on within any specific market space that the FTC governs. Now, in this case, we're talking about gaming, and the arguments being made by the FTC are that by Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard, that this would be a harmful move towards competition within the gaming market. Microsoft counters that argument in saying that this is a vertical merger and would not harm competition because Microsoft is not looking at doing anything that's going to keep the other players in the market from competing with them in the gaming sphere. The other players being Nintendo and Sony, and really there's a whole lot of other gaming entities within the market, but really in this case, we are just focusing on players like Nintendo and Sony, specifically because they represent the console market. And that's the market that the FTC really wants to hone in and focus on. But big picture, there's a lot of players in the space because we have people like Nvidia. We have, well, no longer anymore, rest in peace, Google Stadia. And we have a lot of mobile game developers and things like that. Steam and a lot of other platforms that also sell games, mobile games and things like that. They're also affected by this transaction. But really, the FTC wants to focus on this specific market. Now, the question that, again, I want to get back to is, why is the FTC so interested in making themselves look however they want to look, just so that way they can block this transaction? For me personally, I look at it like being a taxpayer. I want my government regulatory body to be representative of me, and on top of which, I want to make sure that they're doing everything that they can to protect me as a consumer, because generally we have to make sure that consumers are of the highest priority and valued in the terms of regulating the market. Now, in this case, the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, which is a government regulatory body with the purpose of regulating business transactions and acquisitions and mergers, is coming forward with the argument that Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard is going to be harmful to competition. Now, if anybody who has spent a significant amount of time looking at this case, you would see that the FTC's arguments in court seem kind of weak. They don't seem like they hold a lot of water. And Microsoft seems like their arguments have a little bit more strength to them. It seems like their justification for buying Activision Blizzard makes sense. And the FTC is simply looking to want to block this acquisition and merger for the sake of, honestly, who knows? It seems like they want to defend Sony, but I don't want to get into that. That's a can of worms I don't really want to open up. But the question that we want to ask is, why is the FTC kind of trying so hard? Now, the major thing is Microsoft represents a big tech company, a company that has a lot of influence and power in the entire economic sphere, as well as they have their hands in a lot of different markets. Number one being Microsoft is the creator of Windows, which is the operating systems that most computers, most consumer computers, and a lot of business computers are operating with today, which is what allowed them to make so much money to begin with. And they also have the gaming division Xbox. So they have a lot of influence in this sphere, and Microsoft wants to buy Activision Blizzard to expand their influence. The FTC wants to block that transaction because obviously, given enough influence, Microsoft can dictate many more things within the market. They can dictate and control pricing, which ultimately affects the end user, me as a consumer. I don't necessarily want my pricing to go up. But generally, the FTC is concerned that if Microsoft were to take on someone like Activision Blizzard and integrate them into their company, that they would then have enough influence in the gaming sphere to affect the entire market. My argument to that is they already are doing that with products like Game Pass and Game Pass Ultimate and xCloud. They're doing things that are shaking up the market, which are forcing other players to have to match their energy and do some other stuff and change their business model as well. But mainly, I want to focus on what's going on with the FTC and why are they so motivated. Now, because they have such, I would say, weak arguments. I hate to say weak arguments, but that's just really what it is. Because they have arguments that don't really have a lot of strength in court, it's really hard for me to want to see my government regulatory body really risking their entire reputation on a transaction like this. I don't think that this looks good on them. I think they simply want to just block it because of the size of the merger. They really just want to send a message to Microsoft to say, hey, you're still beholden to our approval to do anything that you want to do, especially when it comes to buying things like $69 billion publishing companies. I think that's fine. I think to send that message is fine. I think to go through the lengths that they're going through to try to prove a point is what's hurting the FTC's case and has bad optics because the FTC is a government regulatory body, which means that this is taxpayer money that we are paying just to watch this whole thing go down. It really, I don't know, especially in terms of what we're seeing in court so far. And if you haven't watched, last week they had court hearings, and it seemed like the judge was kind of irritated a little bit by some of the arguments that the FTC was making, or some of the antics that FTC was trying to do to get Microsoft to concede certain points and certain arguments. And in my opinion, I don't think the FTC needs to do all that. I think they need to be exactly what they are, a government regulatory body. Look at the situation for what it is. Is this going to harm competition? Answer that question and then move on. But it seems like they have the answer. I don't think this is going to significantly harm competition. It might have an effect on the competitors and other players in the market, but it is not going to harm competition overall, especially within the gaming sphere, But the FTC has taken this on and said that this is going to harm competition. And most people who have looked at this with a shred of common sense have just come to realize that the FTC simply just wants to flex its power, and it's not looking really good. Now, at the end of the day, if the FTC is successful, the message will be sent, and a lot of other larger companies, major organizations and studios and things in the future who seek to do larger transactions will have to look back on this and say, okay, this is, before we can do anything, we have to go through the FTC, which I think is fair. But I think the FTC currently is making themselves look bad. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. I want to know if you guys feel like the FTC's motivations for wanting to block this in the first place are in the right place. I personally feel like the concern over giving independent companies too much power to where they can dictate the average consumer's experience is understandable. But I also feel like we're kind of already there, considering there's certain things like lobbying and campaign funding and the benefits that politicians get with having insider information to do stock trading. The fact that politicians can even stock trade tells me that honestly, there are already things going on that benefit people who are in certain socioeconomic statuses. And the FTC going on the front stage and competing against Microsoft in this court battle really doesn't send the message I think that they are trying to send. And I think that their energy and attention should be diverted elsewhere. And I think they've done good things in the past. I think the NVIDIA and ARM acquisition, that was a really good play. I think NVIDIA trying to acquire ARM and the FTC going in and saying, no, we're going to block this transaction, that made sense. In this situation, I don't know if it makes the most sense for the FTC to be fighting as hard as they are, considering what we already have going on in the socioeconomic climate. But again, let me know what you guys think. I'm curious to hear your thoughts down below in the comments, as well as leave a like on the video. This will help grow my channel, and the more you guys comment and interact with the video will help get more eyeballs and more people to see the video. So thanks. I hope you guys have an absolutely wonderful day.